What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Rail Chief 74 today here on the channel, and welcome to a very interesting product review for today's episode. Now, what I have here on the layout is an engine and a train set that I haven't ran in the collection for quite a long time, but thankfully I just had the opportunity to restore this locomotive just recently from a part that I just found off of eBay that I've been searching for who knows how long. So what we're going to do here in this episode is to take a much closer look at this beautifully restored model of the Pennsylvania Railroad's S2 steam turbine from MTH Railking. And we'll also take a look at the set that came along with it. So without further ado, let's get on in for a much closer look. We'll talk a little bit of history on how I acquired this engine in the first place. We'll take a look at the train running around the layout later in the video, and we'll also compare the size between the Railking S2 steam turbine and the Lionel S2 steam turbine. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, for most of you that don't know the backstory on the Pennsylvania Railking 6200 here, my dad found this for me back at a garage sale in 2015 when we were still living in Denellen. Now, one of our neighbors who we bought this from is now deceased, but I always think of him almost every single day, every time I run this and take it out of the box and hook up all the cars together and run it around the layout every couple of times. And if you guys are familiar with Great Toy Train Layouts of America Part 4, you know how much that toy trains can really bring family and friends together in a very special way. It's almost like magic. It's very hard to explain, but like I said, this engine I always hold near and dear in a special place in my heart. So again, I'm really glad that I have it. So why don't we go now and take a much closer look at the engine, and then we'll talk about the tender and talk about the rest of the set that came with it. So moving up close, we have the brand new shell that I've acquired for this original set. And just by looking at it, we have some very impressive boiler and piping detail underneath the engine itself, underneath the walkway here. We even do have the sand domes up top, including the smokestack and the headlight, which does light up. We even got this pretty cool looking handrail, which comes out from the front of the boiler all the way towards the back near the cab, just like on the other side. We have the water tank down below in the center. We got the Pennsylvania Keystone. We have the silver smoke box. We have the 8-wheel pilot trailing truck wheels in the front. We have the 8-wheel drivers in the center. And then finally, towards the firebox near the back, we have another pair of 6-wheel trucks. And then finally, underneath the window down below near the cab, we have the prototypical number of 6200, just like on the Pennsylvania Keystone. Next up, we have the streamlined tender that goes with the turbine. And starting off in the center, we have this very beautiful decorated gold lettering, just like on the other side, for the legendary Pennsylvania Railroad. The tender itself has been molded out of plastic. The coal pile, the rivet detail has all been molded into the tender shell. On the bottom down below, we have the 6-wheel truck configuration on both ends with the metal side frames. And sticking out from underneath here, we have the drawbar, which comes out from underneath the tender with 2 holes that have been stamped into the metal, so that way you can either have the tender up close or farther away from the engine. But again, it all just depends on what type of curve radius you might have on your layout. And also make sure to connect the tether that's sticking out of the tender here and connect it to the other side of the engine going all the way towards the back of the cab. And then finally, towards the other side, we have the very reliable metal knuckle coupler and tab, which is located underneath the truck here. So that way you can attach or uncouple a train from a consist from when or however you want to do it. So we're now going to go ahead and compare the size differences between the 671 and the 6200. So when it comes to the Lionel post-war 671, it kind of clocks around at least, let me get my measuring tape out. I would say almost about like 11 inches long. And then for the Railking 6200, about like 10.5 inches. Now, even though that the Lionel model is a little bit on the longer side, and despite the fact that it still is considered a toy, the Rail King model here, I believe, or at least to my mind, is a little bit more on the bulkier side. Next up, we have the two tenders. We have the 671 tender from the Lionel post-war model, along with the Railking Pennsylvania Streamline tender. And by the way, I actually did a recount for both of the locomotives. It was really the 671 that was at least 10.5 inches long, where the Railking model was at least 11 inches long. So my mistake. So make sure not to call me out on that in the comments section. But anyway, since we got both of the two tenders here, there is a tremendous size difference between the two. So theoretically, it wouldn't necessarily be fair to compare the difference between the Rail King tender here and the 671 Lionel Lines tender. So we're going to swap that out and share with you all a more appropriately streamlined tender for the 671. Again, this is a Lionel Lines 2046W whistle tender, but it's almost the exact same size as the 6200 yet again, but the Rail King model still wins in my opinion, mainly because when it comes to the rivet detail, yes, the rivets are prominent on both Lionel post-war tenders, but when it comes to actually feeling the rivets on the plastic, the Rail King model does a much more and a much better superior job at doing it. And now let's go ahead and take a look at some of our freight cars that are included with the entire set. Starting from the back here, we have a very rugged and very typical looking MTH Rail King boxcar with Pennsylvania graphics and spring-loaded metal trucks and couplers on both ends. And we also do have sliding doors that come with the car on both sides. We also have a tank car with 3 red domes and a silver tank car body, which I think look really nice. And just like with the boxcar and the caboose, we have spring-loaded metal trucks and couplers on both ends here. And then finally, we have a very realistic and rugged-looking Pennsylvania caboose with the yellow cupola, the smokestack, the graphics, the portholes, and handrails. So again, it's much more realistic looking compared to a Lionel toy porthole caboose. Now there is a ladder broken off on this side, but again, there's really not much I can do about that, so for the time being, I'm just going to leave that alone. And now the last thing that we need to do is to get this thing up and running, but before we do, let's go ahead and listen to the whistle and the bell. And as a bonus, this locomotive also does come with operating marker lights too, so I can't wait to show you that. So why don't we go ahead and turn on the engine before we roll it down the line. Now the set is also equipped with 2 traction tires, but before you start up the train, make sure to apply them to the 2 rims at the rear end of the drive wheels. Okay, guys, well, that is my review of the legendary Pennsylvania starter set from Railking. And if you all have enjoyed watching, be sure to give this episode a like and a thumbs up, and make sure to let me know what you thought about it in the comments section below. So, as always, my name is Mike. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell down below to get notified for any other projects that I upload here. But until we all meet again, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you all next time.